Hello and welcome to this edition of the Ferrell Phelps Show. My guest today is Lisa Johnson. Welcome to the show, Lisa. Lisa is, you know, there are so many social injustices that are taking place right now in our community, the black community, where our African-American men are being mistreated in ways that they should not be by law enforcement. We're trying to make a difference in what we're seeing right now. Now, Lisa is with the Justice and Freedom Committee for Ray Scott. Ray Scott happens to be Lisa's brother. Now, this is a very interesting story. And when Lisa first approached me about it, I didn't know the severity, I guess one would say, of this particular case. And once I got the information and began to do my research and do the reading that was sent to me, I was just in shock over what had taken place with your brother Ray Scott. Now, Ray Scott is imprisoned wrongly, is basically what this is about. Now, this was a cold case for 13 years. Right. A cold case for 13 years that happened, I think, in 1982? 82. In 1982. A cold case for 13 years, and then they found who they railroaded Ray Scott, as if he was the one who did the, what happened to be an assault charge on a woman in a small town in Texas called Giddings. Giddings, Texas. Called Giddings, Texas. Now, mind you, this is a 13-year-old cold case, and then they pin it on this man, who has now been in prison for over 20 years. So this situation has been going on for 33 years, and he is innocent, and that's what's unfortunate about it. And Lisa, I want you to tell us a little bit more about that story with your brother.
Well, Ray was picked up in 1982 and charged with attempted capital murder. They changed it after 13 years. It was actually an assault case.
Okay.
So they knew they could not try that as an assault case because the statute of limitations had ran on that case. Mm. So they changed it into attempted capital murder, which there was no weapon used. There was no robbery. As a matter of fact, a lady was beaten up in a motel room in Giddings. Mm-hmm. What happened was, left behind was a large sum of money, a pistol, a diamond, earrings, and a brand new Lincoln Town car.
Okay.
And
so I guess it would be safe to say that it was obvious that this wasn't a robbery.
Yes.
With all of these types of valuable items being left at the crime scene, right? Right. Okay.
Now, how they say they got Ray was they said they had a fingerprint. Mm-hmm. They said they had a partial fingerprint, bloody print. Okay. Latent print. And they ran into this APIS machine. But the APIS machine was supposed to not select a person. It just gives you possible suspects. But according to them, that machine is what stated that that's the person who did it. Okay. The DNA was ran on that. Now, this is the question. How could it be a bloody fingerprint you have supposedly being Ray's print, and it wasn't, the blood was tested, it wasn't the victim blood, and it wasn't Ray blood? So it was just so many different things.
Wow, so she just said it wasn't the victim's blood, and it wasn't her brother Ray's blood once it was tested. That says a lot right there, and that was the bloody fingerprint. Yes. But the blood didn't match either one, which leads us to believe that he was wrongly accused, and that there's obviously someone who's gotten away with this type of assault. Yeah, with beating her up. Yes. Wow. So tell me this. I know you've been fighting really hard to try to get recognition for this particular case, and to try to get justice for your brother. What are some of the avenues that you've researched right now as far as it relates to getting help for him?
We have sent out information all over. I mean, even the White House, and I'm a state right now.
Yeah, and speak, you know what I want you to do? Speak a little bit louder, because I want to make sure that they can hear what you're saying. I don't want anybody to miss this.
We don't want to.
So just a little bit louder for me.
For years, I have been nonstop sending out to any and everybody you probably would mention, all the senators, the governor, you name it, you know, just all over it, different innocent projects. Thank God right now his case is with the Innocent Project now at TSU Law School. Finally, and that was after an article came out in the African American News and Issues. Okay. And so that was just a blessing. Okay. Now, for those that don't know, what is the Innocence Project? Well, the Innocence Project help people who are wrongfully accused of a crime, and you have to submit information to them. But you know, they have so many people that submit cases, so you have to be like on this waiting list.
Okay.
And we've been on waiting lists forever.
Yeah.
Know, but we're praying that things work well with that, and we're praying and we thank God. And I want to take the time to say I thank you for having me as a guest on your show. You know, and showing all these different injustices that happen, that has happened to him, and also with the Jesse Valdez, you know, and many others like that. Right.
And you know, one of the things that's important to me, I always believe, number one, in helping people. That's just who I am, number one. But I hate to see social injustices take place in the lives of anybody. And so often when these things take place, nobody stands up and says anything. They just continue to allow it to take place. But I feel like we have to be a voice for the things that are happening, especially with our African American people right here in the city of Houston. So if I can in any way be a voice for those that need justice, I certainly want to do that. And I hope that we're being a voice for Ray Scott today, you know. And the thing about it is, this type of media, it doesn't need to stop here. So when people see this segment or see this show, we need them to send it to everybody that they know. This is the type of word that has to go forward in order to make a difference. You know, it's like the squeaky wheel is the one that gets the oil. But if you sit back and just allow these things to happen, they're going to continue to happen to our people. That's true. So we have to take a stand. Do y'all agree?
Yes.
Yeah, we have to take a stand. We have to take a stand.
And let me say something to you about small town. I made a statement about small town abuse and of the justice system. There are many people there in small towns. They're afraid to step up. They're afraid to come forward and say, we've been done wrong, because they know that it's like the good old boy system. Once you step out, you know, and you say something, you're going to be targeted, your children. You know, you have to live in that town, and you have to see these people that you trade with, that you every day your kids have to go to school. So that stops a lot of people from stepping up saying, hey, you know, I've been done wrong, you know, you've done me wrong, you know, if it's in school or on your job. But we have to stand firm, get together and reach out, you know, and really say, hey, we're not going to take any more.
Right.
You know, if you... I just wanted to get that out, because I run into many people say, hey, I'm not going to say anything because, you know, I know I have to go back. My kid have to go to school, you know, and they're going to be targeted, you know.
Right.
But if you start getting to that point and letting people know, hey, we're not going to put up with that anymore. No more.
Say that again.
We're not going to put up with that anymore.
Say it one more time.
We're not going to put up with
that. And that's what it takes. You know, we can't walk around in fear. And you know, we all know fear is not of God. And so we can't walk around in fear. But we have to come together as a community. You know, there's power in numbers.
Yes, it is.
There's power in numbers. And when we can collectively come together for a good, then that's when we can, you know, have that power to make a difference. And so I hope that's what we're doing today. Making a difference, man, because this guy was innocent. And you know what too, there's other things about the case I want you to talk about as well that also prove that he was innocent. And that I want you to expound upon that a little bit more for me too.
Well, there's so many things to this case till I just, you know, over the years I found out about, you know, number one, there's different information that that wasn't used. They had it and didn't want to use it. You know, one may say, well, why the attorney didn't bring these issues out? He brought them out. He was slapped. You know, justice just wasn't
served.
I mean, it wasn't served. Even though he brought out different issues in court, just didn't work. Just did not work. He was just sitting back like a kangaroo court.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that really threw me when we had the discussion earlier was how you said they took the fingerprints in the courtroom, you guys, and held it up and looked at it, you know, through the light and said, it's a match.
It's a match.
In the court, that's how they did that.
What?
How in the heck can you determine that fingerprints match by holding them up to a light and looking at them and saying this matches?
Well, and
that was crazy.
That's crazy. And also, the DA, when they were deliberating, he went in there with the jurors. And you know, that's a no-no. He went in there with the jurors, and also they they fingerprinted Ray in the court. In the court.
Okay.
And when they fingerprinted him, they took it back to the back, held it up, and said it was natural.
Wow. You know, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. You guys stick around for more of the show. All right, welcome back to this edition of the Ferrell Phelps Show. When we left off, we were talking about social injustices, and one of the social injustices that's taken place with your brother, and we're talking about in the criminal justice system, let me clarify that, with Mr. Ray Scott. Ray Scott has been in prison, for those of you that are just joining us, for over 20 years for a crime that he did not commit. Now, one of the things in our conversation, man, that really blew my mind and left me just like in awe was how they supposedly identified him, and the excuse, I guess you would say, or the rationale for them selecting him as the person who was the criminal. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, on the photo sketch, the sketch that was presented to the DPS had sent out to everyone, when they picked my brother up, the person that had committed that crime, so they say. One of the motel managers had got a call that a lady had called in and said she was, being attacked or whatever.
Okay.
So they went to the room and they knocked on the room. They said someone peeked through the door, and then they went to run out. So one of the motel managers wrestled with it. So they were able to give the description of the person.
The culprit,
He never showed up in court. Okay, he wasn't, he said it wasn't my brother. But anyway, back to this part. That the DA wanted to make an excuse to say that my brother was the one who committed that crime by stating that the person was a light-skinned person, almost like someone of a different race.
Okay.
He had a pointed nose, thin lips. Well, my brother has a wide nose, full lips, and he's very dark complected.
Just the opposite.
What? Yes. And before the jurors, this is what the DA said to them. He told them that black people, as we age,
get this, y'all. Get this. Get this.
As we age, our nose will spread wider. So that's the reason why. That's the reason for his nose not being as thin as the person.
The one that they described.
And our lips get wider as we age as well. Now the color. Now this is the reason why the color comes in. He stated that to the jurors that black people, depending on the seasons of the year, if you're high yellow, you're light complected. The reason why Ray was dark complected and wasn't the color of the person who did it is because of the sun. So
y'all hear that? That's man, as I listen to more and more of this story with on Ray Scott and him being wrongly convicted of this assault and spending 20 years of his life and still spending his life in prison, it's just unbelievable. Now there's one thing that you left out. The woman who this assault happened to was going through a bitter divorce.
And that her husband had called the motel like that day before she was attacked.
And the husband called the motel the day before she was attacked?
Yes.
Okay, so she had been staying at that hotel, supposedly, right? Allegedly staying at that hotel. And, I'm going to go back to what we talked about before, when we talked about the actual crime scene. And we talked about the valuables that had been left there. The diamonds, the cash, the this, that, the watch. I think anybody in their right mind, with good common sense, would think that had this been a robbery, then these valuable items would have been taken. But it sounds to me, and I'm just speaking from my opinion, it sounds to me as if almost like somebody might have been hired to give her a beat down while she was going through that divorce. It's so much of what you've told me. It just leads to more of that type of thing. But unfortunately, whoever the actual criminal was, he's gotten away with it. And you know, I'm going to say he's gotten away with it, but in all actuality, he hadn't gotten away with it. Because I'm a strong believer in what goes around comes around. Yeah. And it may not happen to you today, but it's going to bite you in the butt at some point. That's just the way it works. You know, and a lot of times, you know, man might not be able to get you back, but God has another way of getting you back, and His punishment is far worse than man. You know, I also feel that, you know, a lot of times with things that happen in our lives, period, I always feel like there's something that we can take from it that can benefit other people. And I certainly feel like, even though it seems like the most horrible and horrendous situation that could possibly happen to another human being, there's also some good that can come out of this. It's some life-changing things that can come out of this. And I'm just believing and standing that your brother's going to get out of prison, man. That's just what I believe. That's just what I believe it. And, you know, he's going to get his justice. I just believe that. He's going to get recompense for what he's done. I mean, for what he's not done, that he's been accused of, rather. You know, and you and I were communicating the other day, and I sent you something to encourage you. That was a very similar case that had taken place where a young man had been incarcerated the same way. Several, as a matter of fact, it was 3 men, and they all brothers, mind you. So when we talk about the racial injustice, it's real.
Yes.
It's real. And you know, the thing about it is, it's happening to our children. Yes. It's happening to our sons. It's happening to our brothers. It's happening to our uncles. This is real. This is real. It's real. And you know, for myself, being an African-American male, it's interesting, and I've seen this before with, depending on how I look at the time and how I'm, you know, I mean, we all dress down. Trust me, I dress down. When this is over with, I'm down, down, down. T-shirts, jeans all day long. And it's amazing how people treat you differently based on what they see in your appearance. Yeah, and when I say dress down, T-shirt and jeans, I'm not talking about dress down where my pants are sagging and my butt is showing, which I think is ridiculous. You know, there are certain things that we need to do as African-American men so that we don't draw negative attention toward ourselves when it comes to these type of things too. I definitely want to say that because I think that that is very important. But I do feel like justice will be served in your brother's case, and everything that was stolen from him, God is going to give it back to him. I just believe that. I just believe that. I want to ask you, is there anything else that you want to make sure that the world knows about this particular situation, the case with your brother, before we end?
That we just can't wait till you get out. We have been waiting for this moment for him to be released, for justice to be done.
Yeah.
You know, I live and breathe and just search for that, and you know, and I've given it to God.
Yeah. And
God has been placing people in our lives, you know, and I thank God for that. I mean, our strength.
Well, I definitely want to make a difference, you know, in some kind of way, or make some type of impact with this show. That's what it's all about, man, you know. And we got to help each other out. We can't just sit back and say, oh, I'm praying for you. We appreciate prayer, don't get me wrong. But jump in the pool, dang it, and swim sometime. We need support. We need support. You know, if there's a rally going in, join in on the rally. You know, and I like to do whatever it is that I can from the platform that I have in hopes of making a difference as well. Now, we talked about racial injustice, and we got another racial injustice going to be coming up in just a minute called Justice for Jesse Valdez. And many of you may have heard of this particular case at Willowbrook Mall, where the young man was riding the Segway, and the cop really, cop just did wrong. That's the bottom line. And Jesse is actually here, and you guys are going to hear from him in just a moment. So stick around. You definitely want to hear the story. Welcome back to this edition of the Ferrell Phelps Show with my guest now, Mr. Jesse Valdez. Yes. And also joining us is Michael. Michael is the brother of Jesse Valdez. Now you guys, yes, nothing like the support of your brother. You know, we have been talking about injustices that are happening with African American men. I know a lot of you guys probably have heard about the case that happened right here in the city of Houston at Willowbrook Mall with the young man Jesse Valdez riding on the Segway, and that's what we're here to talk about. You know, he was actually, I guess, accosted by the police officer in an unjust type of way, and that's what really caused this to make headlines. And actually, it was on video, which is so good that we have video now on camera phones, because this video went viral like immediately when everybody had the opportunity to see what had taken place with you. It's making headlines everywhere. This is one of the articles that was written actually in the Prairie View A&M newspaper, and I wanted to make note that Jesse Valdez is actually a student at Prairie View A&M University. He's not some thug on the street doing wrong. Just want to say that. You know, his brother Michael is an educated young man that's doing great things as well. So we're not just talking about some boys that's just getting in trouble and doing these bad things. I want everybody to know that off the cuff. All right? Now, man, you know, and I actually know Jesse myself before this even took place, and I know his character. He was actually one of the models in my project that came out in 2008 in honor of President Barack Obama, and I was so pleased to have him in that, man. And since that time, he's done great things by educating himself. He has his own business, doing wonderful things. So I'm saying all that to say, this ain't no regular brother. Neither one of them. And when you have young men that are not causing trouble in life, not, you know, thugs, you know, not killing and stealing and robbing, we need to make sure that we pay homage to those men and encourage them to continue to do the right thing. But when a social injustice has taken place in their lives, it's also important for us to stand up for them with what has been happening to them. Yeah. And so that's why we're here today to talk about that. Now, Jesse, man, I saw the video. Yeah, and when I saw the video, I'm like, what the hell? You know, instantly I went into that straight what the hell thing, you know, and in shock. I want you to tell the audience and the viewers, man, what exactly took place that day.
Okay, well, I was basically riding this two-wheel Segway around the mall, and I basically done a circle. I done passed through securities, and nobody approached me. I finally, we're about to leave. Okay. And the officer finally approaches me. And he tells me to get off. So when he asked me to get off, I basically just asked him, you know, what's the mall policy? It's not a skateboard. Okay. So I let him know that. I asked him what's the mall policy on it. When I asked him that, he basically put his hands on me, took me off the Segway, and started to arrest me.
Just like that?
Yes, sir. So the whole time I'm trying to figure out what am I being arrested for. I'm making noise. I'm letting them know, you know, what am I being arrested for? What's my charge? Why are your hands on me? Right. And instead of getting responses, instead of getting answers, he just continued to arrest me.
Okay, okay. And you know what, too? What's important, too, is to know your rights as a citizen. And it's not nothing illegal about asking why when you are being arrested. Okay? There's nothing illegal about that. And so it's okay to ask that question. And I think I would have asked the same damn question if somebody was yanking me off a Segway without giving me a rational excuse or reason why you're doing this to me. That's right. You know, right. Just answer my question. You know? And I think what happens is, and you all know this already, it's a misuse of power.
Yes, definitely.
That's what it boils down to. It's a bit of arrogance mixed in there. You know, not all cops are bad. No. I want to say that too. I got some friends that are police officers that are good people. But you got some bad apples in the bunch. Let's just keep it 100.
Yeah.
You got some bad apples in the bunch, and they exercise and abuse their authority, would be a good way to say that. And that's what happened with you. Now, when he yanked you off, now what I saw in the video was you thrown on the ground. I saw his knee in your back, and I know that's one of the tactics that police officers use. They're trained this way to do this type of thing. But it was unjust, and once they had you on the ground, it was no. Then he pulled out a taser too. So let's just tell the whole story.
Yeah.
Now this man is already in handcuffs, behind his back, and the cop pulls out a taser. Was that necessary?
No. Not at all.
Not at all. And the beautiful thing about it, you had tons of witnesses sitting right there watching this take place. You know, a lot of times we hear about these things, but we don't have anybody that's associated with us that we know who has actually, you know, encountered this type of thing. But when you do know somebody, it kind of changes the way you think about it. And I know once I heard about it and saw the video, man, it changed the way I thought. I'm like, hey, I know this dude. You know, I know his character. You know, and one of the things that I said to Jesse earlier, just because I know you, I don't want to make this an easy interview for you. I want to ask you some tough, hard questions and some real questions. And he said, let's do it. You know?
That's right.
And that's what, which says a lot about him as well. You know, and one of the things I want to ask you, what do you say to the person who says, why was he on a Segway in the mall anyway?
Well, the two-wheel Segway is actually shown. Before I bought the product, I actually did my research on it, and the two-wheel Segway is actually shown being used inside in places like the mall, grocery stores, and things like that. So, you know, automatically I thought,
it's all right.
Yeah. I didn't see people with videos on them riding in the mall. So
right. And in fact, I just saw one. I think it was Greenspoint Mall, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. And they're selling them in Greenspoint.
And now, at that scene was not just Jesse, but his brother Michael was there as well, who actually recorded this incident. And man, we commend you for real.
Yeah,
for real. Because had you not had the wherewithal and the thought process to record this, the world would not have seen the injustice that has taken place with your brother. And so I just commend you as a big brother looking out for your little brother and doing what you did. And Mike, I want to ask you, what were you experiencing in that moment? I watched you, and you know, one of the things that just brought tears to my eyes for real was how Michael, as the older brother, handled the situation with the police officers. He kept in a respectful manner the entire time. Sir, why are you doing this to my brother? Sir, why are you putting handcuffs on my brother? Sir, everything was like perfect. I'm like, and then now, and we're gonna keep it 100. What pissed me off was when I found out that they tried to file charges on this man for, what was it, Mike?
Inciting a riot.
Inciting a riot. It was
interfering with the police arrest.
It was evident that this man was just videotaping, and not only was he videotaping, but he was doing it with respect to that officer. He was doing it with respect to that officer. You know, and again, a part of this platform is to let people know the kind of stuff that's going on. And for you guys to see this video, when you get it on YouTube, send it out. Let everybody know what's going on. We got to use our voices, people. We got to use our voices. You know, we're not doing this in vain. There is a purpose to what we're doing. There is a purpose to this show. And it's to benefit people that have been wrongly treated. And you guys have certainly been wrongly treated. Now, Mike, what was your experience like in that moment, man?
For me, it was just a lot of shock and disgust. Like my brother said, there was nothing that we had done wrong that day. We were enjoying a weekend on a Saturday at Willowbrook Mall, a place that we have been going to for many years. So for me, I just found myself at a loss. I remember just wanting to just cry because I couldn't understand why my brother was in handcuffs, and I was right there in front of it, you know, the situation. So I mean, I had direct contact with the police officer himself, and that's one of the reasons we've been asking Willowbrook to release the tape, because if anybody would have seen the approach that the officer took from the initial get-go, they would have really understood why we were just so agitated and frustrated and just angry. It's not that we felt like we were, you know, equal in the matter and that we had done something wrong, like we had, you know, bumped into somebody or made somebody's shopping experience not
bad at Willowbrook Mall.
Exactly. So for us, it was just a lot of confusion as well.
And that's obvious based on what we saw on the tape. I want us to talk a little bit more about that. We're going to talk about it a little bit more when we come back. You guys stick around. We'll be back.
Behind your back.
What was the reason? What was the reason, sir?
Yes, what is the reason, sir?
What is the reason, sir?
22-year-old Jesse Valdez was taken to the ground and arrested by a Precinct 1 deputy inside Willowbrook Mall. A large crowd had gathered, watching the altercation that, according to Valdez, escalated quickly.
I done watched the video over and over when I got out of jail. It brings tears to my eyes. I just can't take it.
Now out of jail, Valdez, standing with his family and community activists, say he was riding his smartboard inside the mall, a motorized skateboard, when he was approached by the deputy who told him to get off of it.
All right, welcome back to this edition of the Ferrell Phelps Show. Now, I guess for those of you that may be just joining us, it's Jesse Valdez. He is, yes, the gentleman right here in the middle, and his brother Mike. Now, these guys were the ones that were involved in the situation that you saw at Willowbrook Mall recently, and it's made headline news. The video went viral thanks to his brother Mike, who had the wherewithal to think ahead and capture this on tape for the world to see the social injustice that had taken place on that day. Yeah. Just, man, you spent 2 days in jail.
Yes, sir.
2 days of his life in jail for something that he should not have been in jail for. Man, I want, now, I want to ask you this. This is something that I was thinking about. How has this situation changed your life? How has your life changed since this particular situation? I was at the news conference that was held, and I saw you become very emotional when you were asked questions by the media. How has your life changed since?
I'm actually getting a little more productive within my community. There's been a lot of instances on Prairie View where a lot of students are getting harassed, so I've actually been reaching out to them as well and basically making change little by little.
And that's what you do, yeah. And that's the thing, when you have something that's happened to you that's been a negative thing, when you can take that thing and turn it around for something positive, and you can help somebody else that's going through the same situation or struggle. And now, Mike, I want to ask you as well, man, how has your life changed since this taken place?
Well, for me, I know I was kind of in a reclusive state, just trying to focus on my work, especially with entrepreneurship. You have to really dedicate yourself to your career. But when this happened, it just re-emerged all the feelings about, the injustice within the system, because I know I did a lot with that in college. Had a program that was developed for those purposes, just making sure that we use our voice, become more self-aware, especially about things that cause issues. So for me, it was just another opportunity just to take a stand again and to get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that's really bothered me about this particular case and this particular situation is the fact that it would be very easy to prove what actually took place if the videotape was able to be shown from the mall.
Exactly.
The mall, yeah. And we're talking Willowbrook Mall, and cameras are everywhere, so it's definitely there. Just show the tape, and that's going to take care of a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
Show me the tape. And then if that was something that was right, we can see it. If that was something that was wrong, we can see it. And Mr. Valdez says also, show me the tape. Show the world the tape.
Yes.
People have, things that they want to say. They have their self-doubt. They have this, they have that. And you hear a lot of people say, and I've seen it and you've seen it as well, why is he on a Segway in the mall? Well, first of all, maybe he was on a Segway in the mall. That ain't what the hell we talking about.
Exactly.
What we talking about is what happened to him for being on the Segway in the mall. It was not right. So whether it was right or wrong, it's about how he was treated. And let's say mistreated.
Yes.
Let me get that right. Mistreated. And it was all about the way of the cop approach. And they tried to stick you with, what was it?
Resisting arrest.
With resisting arrest. And was it also assault of an officer as well?
They actually had some other charges as well, but I think once the video surfaced, all the other charges basically dropped, and they just kept the resisting arrest.
Okay, so right now it's resisting arrest that they still have against you.
Yes, sir.
And that's what we're trying to fight, to have that off this man's record. We're not trying to ruin it.
charges.
We're not trying to ruin this brother's life. And a lot of times when they can stick these charges on you, it's the beginning of your life, the demise of your life.
Exactly.
So that's why we have to stand up now and fight against the injustice that's taking place with this brother. Like I said before, it could be your son, it could be your brother, it could be your daddy, it could be your uncle, any black man it can be.
That's right.
That's just real talk. I want to take some audience questions. I know you guys had a couple of questions that you might want to ask Mr. Valdez while we're here, and I'll ask you, sir.
Well, the question y'all just talked about it. I just want, you know, and the world wants to see the first 7 seconds. We all have seen the ending of the video, the last part of the video. There's 7 seconds missing. There was a camera, a security camera directly on top of them. Okay. Directly on top of them where this incident happened. And I, as a father, want to see it, and the community wants to see it, and the world wants to see it. We don't have to be here trying to show who's right and who's wrong. Just show the video.
You know, I often say the proof is in the pudding. You know, that's just the bottom line. You know, and once you see the video, then you can make your own assessment. You can make your own judgment. But I would definitely lean on the side of Jesse if this man is saying to you, I want them to show the video. It's letting you know that he obviously ain't scared of y'all seeing the video.
That's right.
You know, we have another audience questions. Yes.
So I've been following this and watching and looking at your mom's post, and so I've seen a lot of negativity. Whenever you go public with something, you get that. How, as young men, are you approaching that, and how are you addressing that? How are you dealing with the negativity?
Well, I mean, it's going to happen. People are going to be negative about the situation, but regardless, you know, I'm still going to stand strong, and I'm going to speak up for what happened to me. What the injustice was how this officer treated me. The way he put me down on the ground and arrested me for no charge, and just gave me a charge. Yeah. So regardless of what the negativity says, I'm still going to fight for my justice.
Absolutely. Touch on that for a second. I mean, I know, Facebook and social media is a public forum that everyone has access to, and what I've learned, when it comes to those type of situations, is not even respond. There's going to be people that are going to stand in your corner, and that always makes things look that much better when somebody who knows you takes a second to really say, you don't even know these people, who are you, why would you make these judgment calls about them? And for me, when it comes to posting things, it's just, here we are trying to raise awareness about police misconduct. Exactly. We're not literally looking for anything else unless the situation calls for it. With this whole thing with Miller Big Mall, the fact they haven't released the tape, there's going to have to be some kind of justice within that too. So it's a very multi-layered thing that we have going on. We're not simple people. We think, we move, and we operate as a united front. So we're not going to just stand back and let us be attacked when people don't even know exactly what we're fighting for. So as this situation
and I totally agree with you. And like he said, a united front. It goes back to what I said earlier. We have to take a stand. We, meaning multiple people, together we stand, divided we fall. You guys have heard it all your life. We have another question from the audience. Kathy.
When is the next court date, and then how can people be supportive of you?
Oh, we may not know the court date as of yet, but I
have it written down.
You have it written down. I understand. It ain't something that you want to keep on your head. And at this point, it's a whole lot you want to get off your head.
It's in November.
It's in November. All right, but I do know that they can certainly support you by going to Justice for Jesse on Facebook. And is there any other way that they can also get in touch with you? That's the main way.
Yeah, that's the main way. Twitter account as well, Justice for Jesse. It's been set up, so we've been doing a lot of reposting and things like that. But first off, we just make sure we want to say thank you for everybody that has reposted the video, that has shown support. The biggest thing for us in this cause is just to continue to raise awareness, continue to tell people, whether it's your friends, your family, and your community, just let people know what's going on. Don't let the agitation die. That's one thing that happens with these type of movements. It dies, or people get a lot of negativity within it. We want to keep this positive, but we want to make sure that they know that we're still fighting.
Yeah. And I've seen people do a lot worse things and get a lot less treatment, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, if this is how I feel about it.
Break it down for them.
I'm just telling it like it is.
Right.
You know, and there's like okay. If that was a Caucasian kid on this thing, I just don't feel like the treatment would have been the same.
It would not have been.
I just don't. You know, and I can't sit here and pretend, oh, that would happen to any kid, any race, and no, that's BS. That's BS. I just don't believe that. And so when you see these types of things happen, man, you can't help but to say something. I couldn't wait to have the show. I'm like, oh, we got to do this. And I called Jordy's mom, and I'm like, let's do it like it had happened on, what was it, that whatever day it happened that weekend.
Saturday.
I'm like, okay, let's do the show next week. You know, she's like, okay, Ferrell, let me breathe for a minute. Let me breathe. You know, but you know, it's like this thing has to be talked about. It has to be discussed. You know, and I want you guys to meet the parents of Mr. Valdez and Mike in just a moment. We're going to be back in just a moment. You guys stick around because you want to hear what they have to say too as parents. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
I asked the officer, is it a rule? Is it a law?
He says instead of answering, the deputy took action.
But he grabbed me by my arm and took me off the board and put me up against the window and put my hands up against the window of the store right next to me. By force.
The Precinct 4 Constable's office says when the deputy confronted Valdez, he became, quote, belligerent and began cursing in front of the deputy and other mall patrons. The deputy tried to detain Valdez, but authorities say he resisted. Valdez is a senior at Prairie View A&M and says he owns his own moving business.
Bottom line is the young man did nothing. And they're trying to pin something on him in order to justify their abuse of him, and it happened to be recorded.
We need to move. This is an indictment.
This video was recorded by Valdez's brother, Michael Rulak, and in a twist, authorities say he will also be charged in this incident with interfering with the investigation and inciting a riot.
All right, welcome back to this edition of the Ferrell Phelps Show. As promised, I have the parents of Mr. Jesse Valdez. Jesse Sr. and Angela, welcome. Betzel, welcome to the show. You know, you guys have been through a lot over the last month or so dealing with this situation that took place with your son, Jesse Valdez. Mom, from a mother's perspective, what was going through your mind when you first saw that video that went viral?
Well, it's strange that everybody had asked why he didn't get off the board. And to be perfectly honest with you, when Michael first called and told me the incident, I asked the same question. Why didn't he get off? And then ask questions. Michael's response to me was, it escalated so fast, Mom, he didn't really have a chance to get off. Mm-hmm. And then after I saw the video, I was shocked, humiliated, hurt, angry, and the list goes on.
Wow, and I can only imagine.
It just turned things totally around. At first, when he told me about the incident, I thought the worst that could happen, I didn't know the gravity of the situation. The worst that could happen is he'd be escorted to the back in a manner of dignity, not in handcuffs and dragged away, and be left. I thought they were trying to disperse the scene. After seeing the video, it became very obvious to me that it was in fact the officer that instigated or could have been a riot. Mm-hmm. The fact that the people in the mall were literally shocked at what was going on. We have talked to people in the mall since then. On Sunday, we had a chance to talk to several people who worked at the mall and said that Segways, first of all, were in the mall on a regular basis. They didn't know that there was a rule against them. Michael also followed up to the officer and asked for a copy of the rule of conduct, which is on our page, and there's nothing in the rules that indicates that Jesse did anything wrong. The rules are ambiguous at best, very vague, and so there's nothing that says it can't be written in the mall. Okay. Also, I'd like to point at the fact that the security, their policy at all. If anyone is breaking the rule, they are given 2 warnings and then asked to leave. My son was not given that option. He was not warned, nor was he asked to leave.
That was just one time, and that
he was arrested and taken to jail like a criminal he had not committed any crime. He had not broken any law. And this is outrageous that the police think that they have the power to just arrest people for no cause. It goes on way too frequently, especially with our black young men.
Yeah. And you know, that's one of the things that I was saying earlier. It's just it's a total misuse of justice and authority, more so. And I know, as a male yourself, how did you feel when you watched that happen to your son?
I was very disappointed. Couldn't believe that it was really happening to my son. First thought that went through my mind was all the hard work that I have done to put them on the right track.
Yeah.
Put them through school, educate them, and give them manners.
Mm-hmm.
Put them in church, and made them who they were. For them to be stripped for all the education that they have.
Mm-hmm. In a matter of moments.
In a matter of moments, for no reason, that can affect them.
Mm-hmm. The rest of their life.
For the rest of their life, where they can't get a place to live.
Yeah.
No credit or a record for a job. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And that was the most that hurted me. That brought tears to my eyes.
Absolutely.
That I know that we both, as a team, did our best and did a good job.
Yeah.
We have not had trouble with things. And not to say just because I'm the parents of these 2 guys, my 2 boys, but these boys are excellent. Never had to whoop them. I never had to. That's another. Anyway.
You have to be a parent, though. You have to be a parent. I mean, any parent has to be a parent. But because of the character that you've instilled in these young men, that's even more reason why we need to stand up and have these darn charges dropped that shouldn't be there anyway.
Right.
That's the bottom line. These charges need to be dropped. It doesn't make any sense. This is a good young man. They're both good guys. This needs to be dropped. And again, I say, we have to stand up for what we believe. And we have to do it collectively. We can't just do this show, do this segment, and just stop after the day. Like I said, get the message out there. Tweet it. Whatever you got to do. Facebook it, Instagram it. Let people know what's going on. We have to do that. We have to do that. Now, Angela, I wanted to ask you, how has it changed the way you look at police officers after seeing this event happen with your son?
Well, to be honest, Ferrell, I've had looked at police officers differently for quite a while because I've seen them disrespect our young men and even people our age. They speak rudely. They're not polite or courteous. They are supposed to be public servants. We pay their salaries. The other point that I definitely want to make is the fact that this officer accosted my son in a Gestapo-type manner as if he had committed a major crime really disturbs me. Because we as parents, if my child asks me why, I can't even shake him, hit him. If I was to do what Officer Perio did, then I would be arrested. And then they say we can't put our hands on our children, but yet you can arrest and take them to jail without committing a crime. It's outrageous. It is outrageous.
Something's wrong with that picture. Something is definitely wrong with that picture. What's coming up for Jesse in this particular situation? Is there a court date set?
There is a court date set. We are hoping to have the charges dropped by that time. We will be circulating a petition. We want the charges dropped. We want the tape revealed. And we want Officer Perot held accountable for his illegal activity.
And you know what? And here's the deal. We always want justice done against the criminals, right?
Exactly.
And when the officer is a damn criminal, He needs to be punished too.
Absolutely.
Take his behind off the force for a minute. Reprimand him, hold a few paychecks, something. But, you know, again, if we sit down or lay down on this thing, it only gets worse. It'll never get done. And that's why I am so passionate about it when it comes to the Ray Scott story, when it comes to Jesse Valdez story, because when it's Sandra Bland, when it's wrong, it's just wrong. You know, when it's wrong, it's just wrong. How do people jump in on this cause to help Jesse right now, Mom?
Well, like I said, we do anticipate we have a petition that should be up and loaded on the Justice for Jesse page within the next 2 days. Okay. And so we encourage anybody to go to that page. We'll also be having hard copies, and we'll be circulating within the neighborhood. And I think that it's all in God's plan. The fact that his court date is not until, I think, November 20th gives us time to substantiate the fact that he is innocent, that he was wrongly arrested, and that we will see justice prevail.
Amen. You know, when we talk about this particular incident, it just kind of, a lot of times I go back to the Word of God and the thing, you know, and the Word said it rains on the just as well as the unjust.
Yes.
You know, a lot of times we're good people, but bad things can happen to good people.
That's true.
But it's how we use the bad thing that has happened to the good person that makes all the difference.
That's right.
It's how we use that thing. You know, where we are and what we're going through is not in vain, unless we allow it to be in vain by not continuing to stand our ground to make a difference. And, you know, by all you guys showing up here tonight, you guys are all standing your ground to make a difference. Like I said before, it could be any of us.
Exactly.
You know, I know for myself,
that's
when I get stopped by,
when
I get stopped by an officer, it can be anybody. I feel the same way. I feel intimidated instantly when I'm pulled over. I'm like, oh boy, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how to, let me just be, you know, perfect and all this here, you know, because you don't know what can take place. And by us seeing this so much in the media, and again I say thank God for camera phones, because it's busting a lot of wrong folk.
Keep the cameras rolling.
Keep the cameras rolling, man. And you can even, if you get pulled over, you can even have your camera still rolling while the officer is there. That's not illegal. Or you can have it sitting right there where you can, where it's audio, where it can be heard as well. You know, we have to find ways to protect ourselves in a world that's not protecting us, that is supposed to protect us, and that's the justice system in the United States of America. You know, and it angers me. It angers me to see that. And, you know, I know that you've raised your boys very well, and I know that you want them to have great success in life, and that's why these charges need to be dropped.
Right. Exactly, because when they're dismissed, they still show up. And that's what happens to so many of our young men. I know classmates of Jordy who have been in and out of jail 5, 6 times. Not for committing a crime, mind you.
Okay.
Generally, it comes from an illegal stop or illegal search when they're stopped. When they're stopped, everybody in the car has to present their license. That's routine with our African American and Latinos.
Okay.
That does not happen in the white community. Now, you know, if a person pulled over and you ask for your passenger's license, what would white people do? I'm just saying. What would white people do? They, excuse me, officer? You're asking my passenger to pay? Sally, put that away. Now, what is your badge number, sir? We know that.
And get the badge number.
And that would be the end of it.
Yeah.
And these children wide around, I was told by a white young man that they flipped the policeman off and stuck their tongues out at him. Nothing happened. The police officers acted like they did not see them. So there's 2 issues here. There's the one that police brutality. And not only it's a social economical thing. It's not only blacks and Latinos, but poor white people that cannot afford attorney's fees, probation costs. It's a vicious cycle. You know, they take their license, then the next time they're pulled over, they're taken to jail for driving on a suspended or revoked license, and then they're put on probation, and then they lose their job because they have to go report to probation, and it just continues.
It's a domino effect that takes place.
By the time they're 26, like I said, they may have been to jail 4 or 5 times, but have not committed a crime. So here you have a young man with an extensive criminal history who's never committed a crime. It's a pattern, and it needs to be brought out, and that's what we're hoping comes from is that awareness of what's going on. It's time that we start asking our kids, what did the police officer say? What did he accuse you of? They're never given their rights. They're never told what they're being arrested for. You know, they just take them to jail. They can pin any number. They have a laundry list of charges that they can throw on these people.
And if Jesse wants to ever get pulled over again, just get pulled over again, he's going to be treated differently because of his record.
Exactly.
They pull his license plates and show that he has a run-in with the law.
And it goes in a different direction.
So they probably already got the guns out. Yeah.
Hands are got to be out the window, you know, and then put on the ground. And you know.
Again,
we just got to get it.
Yeah, and we have to. That's what the main thing is. We have to keep this awareness going out forward, and we have to stand. We have to stand. Like I said, we can pray, but we have to participate as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like I say,
faith without works is dead.
Is dead.
So we have to make things happen.
Amen. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Yeah, that's real talk right there. Faith without works is dead, folks. We got to work to make this change take place, and that's why we're here today, to help make that change take place. Angela, I hope you've had an opportunity to say the things that you want the public to hear as it relates to your wonderful sons and all that good stuff, and the same thing for you, Mr. Valdez. Thank you so much for everything. Absolutely, thank you.
And we do want to thank each and every one of you for showing up today and showing your support. We appreciate it.
Keep
Absolutely.
reposting the videos. Reposting the videos because Jesse is free of all charges. Thank you all very much for participating. And,
absolutely, absolutely.
We love
and one more time, yes, absolutely. One more time, how do they get in touch with you guys? Now, say it again so they can make sure they get that for those people that want to support this cause. I know it's on Facebook, but what is it called?
Justice for Jesse. Jesse, and it's spelled out. Justice, F-O-R, Jesse. J-E-S-S-E.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this.
One word. Justice for one word.
One word, okay.
Justice for one word. Justice.
Justice. Okay, I think you guys got it. For Jesse. That's important. I'm pretty sure if you do it, you're going to find it on Facebook. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this edition of the Ferrell Phelps Show. And for more information on me, you can certainly reach me on my website. It's ferrellphelps.com. You can also hit me up on my email. It's Let's Talk About It 12tv@gmail.com. That's Let's Talk About It 12tv@gmail.com. We also have a YouTube channel. Simply go to YouTube, type in the name Ferrell Phelps. You'll see a list of my shows right there for your viewing pleasure. Until next time, folks, we'll see you then.